All right, sixth grade. So this video will hopefully help you learn how to make graphs in Google Sheets. Google Sheets makes it pretty easy for you. They include some features that kind of self-generate graphs. So it's a little bit easier than using Excel, which you'll have to learn someday. So here we've got the data. We've seen this before when we were making graphs on paper earlier this year. We used this same data. So this is a whole bunch of data tables in here. So you're going to pick two. You're going to pick one for making a bar graph and one for making a line graph. So to review, a bar graph is made to compare different quantities side by side. And a line graph is used to track the change of things as it progresses, usually having to do with time, though not always. So most of these here, like this one and this one, we're looking at the number of people that voted for their favorite type of pet, right? And these are the number of votes. So we're not tracking anything, we're comparing in most of these. Even over here, where people are saying when they have their birthday, we're really doing a side-by-side comparison. So there are a few here where we are tracking things by time and how things change and recording how they go up and down over time. So we want to take a look for those as we go to make our graphs. So I'm going to pick some data tables over here that you won't see when you open up this document, because I'm going to delete them so you can't just copy mine. So the first step, since there's so many different data tables here, I'm going to highlight the one that I want to do, and I'm going to do Control-C. That copies it. And I'm going to come over here to this little plus bar and add a new sheet. So now I want a new one, and I can paste the one that I want to do. Then I'm going to go back over, and I'm going to pick this other one to do. All right, now I didn't just pick these at random. Let's take a look at them. I'm going to paste this with Control-V. So this one I picked because it's tracking the number of pages, the total number of pages that somebody read, and tracking it over a span of 5 weeks. So that's going to be a line graph. Over here, we're looking at the number of people that voted for their favorite candy, and we're going to be comparing them side by side. The number of people who like Skittles isn't changing week to week, or at least we didn't record that data. We're just comparing the number of people who like Skittles versus M&Ms versus Sour Patch, etc. This one over here, with the time, weeks, and the number of pages, that is tracking how the number of pages you have read changes over time. So let's start with the line graph. To make a graph, I'm going to highlight, and I'm going to go to Insert. And then I'm going to come down here to Chart. Now what's nice about Google Sheets is it guesses what you want to set it up as. So it knew, based on the data that I provided, that a line graph would be best. If you disagree with the suggestion, you can come over here to Chart Type, and you scroll through a list of suggested. You can also then go and pick different ones that get a little bit more complex, right? If we wanted a column graph, if we wanted it to be a slightly different, if they call them column instead of bars, because bars, they're saying go horizontally, fine, just a different name. Pies, scatters, all sorts of stuff. Map obviously wouldn't apply. So there's lots of different options as you get more complicated data, but usually the suggested ones will be a pretty good start. So we've got a good graph. We're now going to customize. We've already decided on the chart title, so we're going to come down here to chart and axis titles. So they've already, for you, what's nice is they've already included things, time in weeks and number of pages read. Now we know that that's not how we set it up for us. We want the pages read, just like we have time and weeks where the unit of time is the weeks, we want to change the pages read to say something different. We're going to come over here and we're going to say, we're capitalize this, we're going to say pages read, because that's what this is showing, and it's going by the number of pages read, right? So that's how your y-axis should read. And then if we're going to flip over to the chart title, we want something a little bit more descriptive of number of pages read versus time in weeks. That's correct, right? It's showing what is on the y-axis and the x-axis, but we want something a little bit more descriptive. So we could say something like the number of pages a student read over 5 weeks. That little sentence there is going to give you more of what you need. You can also change text color. You can change, if you needed a legend, we can come in here to the horizontal axis and change different things. We can change, right, like if it doesn't start until, let's say that we had data that started at 200 and went up to 500, we could change what the minimum and maximum value was. For right now, we don't have to do that, but there's lots of stuff that you can customize later. So we'll close out of here, and boom, we've got this done. Now let's come over here. We're going to highlight this one, highlight our bar graph, go back over to Insert, and come down to Chart. And now it thinks a pie graph would work well. Now that makes sense, right? We're saying 35% of the people liked whatever the other stuff is. Almost 21% liked Skittles, 6.3% liked M&Ms. Now that's taking our data and turning it into a percentage, right? It's taking the 10 people or whatever that voted for M&Ms and dividing that 10 by the total number of people who voted and turning it into a percentage. That's fine, but we're looking to compare side by side, so we're going to go like that. Right? So I went into chart type and looked at some of the other suggested ones. Boom. Now, favorite candy, great. Number of responses, almost perfect. We're going to change that to responses, or another way you could say it is votes, or survey responses. Let's do survey responses. We're going to put number, right? So, survey responses. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. You can change the color and stuff if you want to, but no need, really. It's pretty visually appealing as it is. So we're going to change the chart title. See how I just click on it and then it switches over. You can also do that right here. Chart title, subtitle, horizontal, and vertical titles. So I'm going to change this to say the number of students who selected each candy as their favorite. Right? That's a little wordy. I just came up with that on the spot. That's not perfect, but it gets the point across, especially for this video. So now we've got two graphs here. I paused the video for a second because the two graphs were stuck on top of each other and I couldn't move them. So I just got it to work. Now I'm dragging them off of each other so we can see them side by side. Okay. So now we've made our graphs, but we need to do another step, which is to get them into a Word document, or into a Google Doc, rather. So here's just a blank Google Doc that I'm using for this purpose. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to left-click on it, and that was wrong. I'm going to go Control-C. Let's see if that works. Paste unlinked. Boom. So Control-C, Control-V, and it pastes it in here. Now the reason I did unlinked is so that people can't go in and change it in this document. So I'll come back over here. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to hit Control-C. I'll come over to my untitled document. I'm going to go down a little bit. I'm going to hit Control-V. So link to spreadsheet, that allows editors to update the chart. I don't need that to happen. We can just go paste unlinked. That means that they can't change anything, and it's just you're not able to edit it once it's in the Google Doc, which is fine. We can, boom, paste it there. So now we've got the two graphs in a Google Doc, right? We can size them down so that they both fit onto one page, just like that. And this would allow you to then write your, let's say, CER discussion questions down here. And whatever else you needed. You could also, if you wanted to, if the graph or if the lab report required you to, move that out of the way, I could include the data tables right above, because sometimes you want the data table and the graph. So I did Control-C, I come over here to this one, and I can paste unlinked again, unless you want it linked, and there's my data table that would go along with it, right? You don't have to do that for this lab, but just I wanted to show you that you could copy and paste your data table as well. So in this first practice assignment for you, you're going to pick one of those data sets to make a bar graph and one of those data sets to make a line graph. You'll make your bar, you'll make your line graph, and then you'll copy them over into the Google Doc that is part of the assignment, and you'll submit that assignment. This is practice so that we start to learn how to make graphs in sheets and then paste them over to Google Docs. Because from now on, when we do a lab report where we make a graph, we're going to actually do them on the computer because they look nice and neat. And that way then, for the attack of the bacteria lab that we are working on, you'll be able to graph some of your data and put that data directly into a nice computer graph and then right into your lab report. So please watch and rewatch this video as many times as you need so that you're able to complete the kind of introduction assignment. And let me know if you've got questions.